In one of the worst kept secrets of the hockey world, Dave Tippett is about to become the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. Will be announced, is actually going to be announced in about, I think, 15 minutes' time officially at a press conference. So Dave Tippett is coach of the Oilers. I like it. I do. The Oilers don't want to be mucking around. They don't want to be, down around the bottom of the league. They feel that they have the pieces they need to get back in the thick of it. And honestly, everything gets kind of overblown with the Oilers. I think their defense is better than people give them credit for. I think you can come up with a good top four with what they have, and I think you can fill it out. Yeah, they need some extra help. Bouchard's coming up. That could help tremendously. Look what Heiskanen did for Dallas's defense this year. And again, like I said, they need a winger. Could they use another goalie? Sure. Look what Carolina did on the cheap, and they fixed their goaltending. So, with the right moves by Ken Holland and with some really solid coaching from Dave Tippett, this team could be back on the upswing within I want to say by next year. I do, and I say that not necessarily because I'm trying to say the Oilers will be back in the playoffs next year, but because we're now in a league where really it is. I don't want to say that simple, but it is something that happens frequently where teams that we look at, in 1 year and say, they're dead, they're done. The next year, they're pretty darn good. Colorado was a good example of that 2 years ago. Dead to the world, they're done. Sakic sucks. And then a year later, everything's fine. They're in the playoffs. Sakic looks like a genius. And now here we are a year after that, and we're saying, you know what? They're on the upswing, and everything looks good for them, and Makar looks solid, and they've got a really good young team. It can happen. So Ken Holland wants to make sure this team doesn't spin its wheels too much, and Tippett will get the most out of them. Tippett's a very structured guy. I remember when he was coach in Dallas. I liked him very much. I was not a fan of him being fired when he was, but that's kind of the way things work as a coach. You're hired to be fired. So I like this. I think the Oilers are on the right track. I know there are going to be a lot of people that say, oh no, the Oilers suck, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Again, it's all a matter of opinion. And I would say that the team that went to the playoffs and actually went around in 2017 doesn't look entirely different from the team they had on the ice this year. And at certain points over the last couple of years, they've had things working well for them, and then it just falls right off the rails again. So they need to come up with a better system. I agree with that. And they do need to make some personnel decisions. But I don't think they need like this big, massive, sweeping wholesale change. I think they're not a bad team. They're just not good enough for the playoffs this season or last season. But I do think the hope is there. So we'll see if Tippett can turn things around. Again, I'm not just saying, they'll be in the playoffs in 2020. But they have a better chance now than I would say that they did with Chiarelli and Hitchcock and just that general malaise around the team. Hopefully with Holland. Now with Tippett, that helps to freshen things up a little bit in that locker room. And it also... maybe it gives McDavid a feel like, okay, now we're going to go somewhere and things are going to work out. Because part of this whole thing is this. Connor McDavid has got to see some upward momentum and some hope for the future. Or next year we'll be talking about some things with McDavid because that conversation does start to become more and more relevant every year. He's going into his 4th NHL season. He would really like to see that become a very successful season. And with Holland as GM and with Tippett behind the bench, I think there's a greater chance of that. Let me know what you guys think about this hiring. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.